Costa Rica, home of spectacular sunsets, beautiful flowers, beautifully rugged beaches, and most important of all, very dear friends, who also just happen to be wonderful hosts. How about breakfast with this view? Or if we were going somewhere, there was always Soda Garabito for an inexpensive but very good breakfast. And where we were usually going was for a hike. This time, friend Jan joined us. I was always the rear guard, and most of the hikes featured a waterfall. This view, one of my favorites, is from Miro's Mountain. We picked a low tide for our visit to Playa Arco because the caves we were going to see would be underwater at high tide. These rocks were pretty tricky to walk on. Between that and the fact that the tide came up, we found another way back. One of our lunches was at this place. It was so far out of the way, and it took so long to get there, we were amazed to find people when we got there. Another hike we did, though not necessarily in this sequence, was to a waterfall called Poco Azul. Grandson Matthew loves to skateboard more than almost anything else in the world. The city of Jaco Beach has recently installed this skate park. And while we didn't get to watch Matthew, we did watch some of the other kids. Simply amazing. There's also a very active community center there. We also visited a fishing cooperative village called Tarcolis. Out here on and near the beach is where repairs are made to the nets and the boats. We came back here later for lunch, the freshest fish and seafood you could get. Another hike we did was in the Carrera National Park. The arrabada is a term that refers to the time when the green Ridley sea turtles come out of the water and climb up the beach to lay their eggs on the beach where they themselves were hatched. It generally occurs during the time of a full moon and a high tide. It generally is predictable, and the turtles arrive by the thousands. And we were supposed to be notified when they were arriving. But we were getting impatient and decided not to wait. Instead, we piled into the car and headed for the region of Guanacaste. Our destination, a place called Astianal, with stops at various beaches and points of interest along the way, access to which virtually all required four-wheel drive. We stopped at a resort called the Four Seasons, most definitely a place for the rich. Stopped to walk around and have a delightful lunch in a lovely little beach town. We stopped for the night in a place called Playa del Coco. Ken said this town was funky, and he was right. And Norma decided she was going to go to hell with a margarita. In the morning, we were off to Astianal, arriving just prior to dark. Next morning, at the crack of dawn, we were out on the beach to see what we could see. Now remember, the arrabada had not yet started, so we did not see what I'm showing on the screen. This, however, is what we did see. There had been many more of them earlier, but when we arrived at the beach, 5 still remained in various stages of their nesting. Covering the eggs to protect them is slow, hard work for these turtles. But they're driven by instinct and the need for survival of their species, and nothing stops them. Finally, they head back for the sea, where they will roam for thousands of miles until it's time for them to once again repeat the process. How do they know when it's time and exactly where to go? That may be one of nature's many mysteries that we'll never fully understand. We observe and we marvel at the miracle of it all. Our final adventure of this trip was a visit to the Rainmaker Park, one of Ken and Norma's very favorite places.